Hi there, my name's Kai, and I'm an American expat living in Germany. Today we're going to talk about one of the most regularly visited places you're going to need to go to if you move to Germany, the grocery store. While shopping for groceries in Germany is pretty similar to the experience in the US, there are actually some differences that might be helpful to know about. I'm hoping the information in this video will make the experience just a little smoother for you and help in your transition into the German culture. Los geht's. Let's start with some general notes about the grocery stores here. First, you should know that there are a number of grocery store chains in Germany, but there are three stores that I prefer to go to regularly: Rewe, Edeka, and Alnatura. These stores are a little more expensive than the discount chains like Lidl, Aldi, and Netto, but the stores I go to have very high quality food, an excellent selection, and generally provide a calmer experience than the rushed and unfriendly service I've often noticed when visiting discount grocers. In comparison to the US, I would say that Rewe, Edeka, and Alnatura are somewhat similar to Whole Foods, but in many ways they are much better than Whole Foods, and all three of these stores are very commonly found throughout Germany. The second thing you should know is that grocery stores in Germany are generally smaller with somewhat narrower aisles than those found in the US, especially the ones located in downtowns. This, however, doesn't mean that they won't have everything you need. They just won't have 10 brands of tortilla chips, for example. They may just have 2. Also, since the stores are smaller, you can find more of them in a smaller area. Where I live in Berlin, there are about 10 grocery stores within a 10-minute walk of my apartment. Third, you should know that because grocery stores are so close and easy to get to, many people here go to the store much more frequently, even daily. I suspect that this has to do with the fact that most Germans have much smaller fridges and many walk to the store, so they can't buy so much at one time. Also, this might be due to the fact that German food usually doesn't have all the preservatives and other chemical additives often found in American foods. So it's important here to keep smaller amounts of fresh food on hand so it doesn't have time to spoil. This is probably another reason the food here tastes so much better. Anyways, the final thing I want to note is that since you're more likely to be walking to the store, I recommend you do what many other Germans do. Get yourself a portable grocery cart or shopping trolley. Believe me, your back will thank you. So, one of the first things to know when you walk into a grocery store here is how to get yourself a grocery cart. It's not quite as straightforward as you may be used to. You see, there's a reason why you don't see grocery carts littering the streets in Germany like you do in some parts of the US. They use this very simple but effective system where you have to insert a coin or token to unlock the cart. Then, you're much more likely to actually return the cart instead of leaving it randomly out in the street so you can get your money back. One thing that's cool about the grocery carts here is that you can bring your own portable cart and you can attach it to the grocery cart like this, which makes it really easy to get around the store. Okay, now we're ready to look at a typical grocery store in more detail. Most grocery stores in Germany have everything you would expect, like a produce section, a bakery, a meat counter, a candy aisle, frozen foods, a dairy section, etc. But there are some major differences. First, I have to highlight the baked goods. You can typically find a really large selection of breads and pastries to choose from in any German grocery store. They have fresh goods that are baked daily available in the self-serve cases, as well as those that are packaged. What they don't have in grocery stores here is a bakery counter, so if you want something like that, just go directly to a bakery instead. And in case you don't know already, we have some of the best bread in the world here in Germany. Once you eat it, you'll quickly realize that what's known as bread in the US is more akin to cardboard. Another big difference is that all German grocery stores in Germany carry beer, wine, and liquor. We don't have any of those puritanical restrictions on alcohol here like many parts of the US. Next, believe it or not, vegan and vegetarian foods are actually really popular here, and they're readily available in many of the grocery stores too. And, just in case you were worried, there are also plenty of international foods from Asia and Mexico that you can get here. Finally, as you might expect, the candy aisles in the stores here are also huge. And most of the candy here is also much better quality than in the US. Okay, we've learned about what you can expect to find in different sections of a typical German grocery store. Now let's talk about some items that you might worry are not available here or maybe harder to find. The first of these is that all-American treat peanut butter. Yep, they do have it, and it's called Erdnussbutter. This one right here is absolutely amazing, by the way. And yes, I think it's much better than Jiffy. Next is their sour cream. Yes, we have that too, and here it's called Sauerrahm. However, Quark is much more popular and I would say tastier than sour cream. And I find that it's an excellent substitute for sour cream. Another thing that you might think isn't available here is cream cheese. We actually do have cream cheese, but we also have something that's so much better, Kräuterkäse. This is a popular herb cheese spread that goes great with German bread. And there are great vegan versions too. I think Kräuterkäse is great topped simply with sliced tomato and cucumber. I suspect once you've had Kräuterkäse, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Despite the wide variety of foods available in German grocery stores, there actually are some things that are very common in the US that are hard to find here. Most of what's hard to find is anything having to do with Thanksgiving, which makes sense since it's an American holiday. It's hard to get large turkeys, you likely won't even have an oven large enough to fit them anyways. Also, pies, as Americans know them, are not very common here. And you can't buy stuffing mix either. So, if you want to do Thanksgiving here, you may need to come up with a different or slightly modified menu and make most things from scratch. Personally, I like to take the opportunity to go out for my favorite German food, Wiener Schnitzel. But there are American expats here who manage to recreate traditional turkey dinner too, if that's something that's important to you. Another thing that's hard to find here are crackers like Ritz or saltines. All of the crackers here are just made a bit differently. So I recommend you consider switching to something like Thin Crisps, which are much healthier anyways. Okay, before we head to the checkout, there are a couple more things you should know about the grocery stores here. The first thing that many Americans might find extremely odd is that the eggs here aren't refrigerated. I know, it worried me too at first, but apparently it's not a problem at all. Another thing that's quite different here is that stocking of shelves is done throughout the day, not at night like is typical in the US. So you may sometimes find yourself having to dodge large pallets of food waiting to be stocked as you navigate the narrow aisles. Now that we've seen how German stores are set up and what they have to offer, let's talk about the checkout process, since it can also be a bit different. First of all, just like in the US, most stores have both regular and self-checkouts. Since you're new to the country and you want to integrate as much as possible, I highly recommend you use the regular checkout. Even though the self-checkouts can be done in English, you won't be engaging with anyone, and you may also be contributing to people losing their jobs. So, yeah, the regular checkouts are way better. Now, another difference that's also important to know is that plastic grocery bags are illegal in Germany. So I recommend you get yourself a reusable bag that you bring along with you every time. This is especially easy to remember if you just always leave them in your portable grocery cart. But if you don't have a bag, you can either get a reusable bag or a paper bag right out the checkout for a small fee. Okay, now there are some basic German words and phrases you should know to help get you through the checkout. Let's go through a basic scenario. When it's your turn, the cashier will usually greet you with a basic hello or guten Tag. You can just say the same thing back to them. Then they might ask you if you have the app for the store. If you do, scan your QR code using the scanner near where you pay. Or if you don't have the app, you can just say nein or no. Then they'll start scanning all your stuff. And I have to warn you, they can move pretty fast. Since you're expected to bag your own groceries, it can feel a little rushed sometimes trying to keep up with bagging and being ready to pay as soon as they finish scanning. Anyhow, once everything has been scanned and you're ready to pay, you can either pay by card or cash. If you have cash, just go ahead and pay the cashier. But if you're paying by card, just say mit Karte bitte or with card please, before scanning your card at the payment terminal. And, as you might expect, this exchange typically ends with them asking if you want a receipt. This makes sense, of course. The problem is that they have 8 different ways of saying receipt. So, just say "Ja bitte" if you want the receipt, or "Nein danke" if not. After this, the cashier will usually say "Danke" to thank you, and they may even add a quick "Tschüss" for goodbye. To which you can simply reply with the same thing, "Danke, tschüss." I usually say a bit more since I find it helps build a friendly relationship with the cashier, such as "Schönen Tag noch" or "Have a nice day." A little bit of genuine niceness goes really far in Germany. Before we wrap things up, I just want to address an issue that I've heard people complain about online: feeling very rushed at the checkout. I've heard this a lot, particularly from Americans. In the US, you might not have to bag your own groceries, and the overall checkout process tends to go much more slowly, partly because you're often buying so much stuff all at once. So everyone is more patient with the process since it's expected to take a bit longer. In Germany, as I alluded to earlier, with the smaller amounts that everyone buys and with bagging far fewer groceries, the process can go very quickly. As a result, the people in line behind you can grow impatient more quickly, especially if they are on their way home from work. I do think the whole experience is much worse at discount grocery stores like Aldi and Lidl. The stores I go to seem to be better, but it can definitely still happen. So, while yes, I agree, it can be a stressful experience at first, there are some things you can do differently to reduce or prevent problems with this. First of all, I go to the grocery store every day or two, and I buy way less at a time than I used to in the US. I find it's best to simply follow the local ways of doing things rather than annoying everyone by throwing a wrench into the process and buying a whole week's of groceries at once like most Americans seem to do. Plus, without a car, that's pretty hard to do here anyways. Next, I put everything on the conveyor belt in a way that makes it much quicker and easier to bag. The heavy stuff first and all the light stuff after that. Then I have my bag ready to go so I can start bagging as soon as things are scanned. Still, I often find that even with being prepared, the cashier can move so quickly that I can't keep up. In this case, I just finish bagging everything as quickly as I can without rushing like a maniac before I pay. I also always pay with card, which is way faster than paying with cash. Now, if this all still feels too quick for you, you could also try going at an off time. But there is also another workaround that always helps. You can simply put all of your groceries right back into your cart and take them over to the bagging area after you pay, where you can take your time bagging everything. I find all these strategies have greatly improved my own grocery experience in Germany. Alrighty, that's all you need to know to hopefully have a relatively easy and enjoyable trip to the grocery store in Germany. As always, I hope this information has been helpful. That's all for now. I'll see you all again soon. Tschüss, bis später!